Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on our Nextjs series. And in this video, we are focusing on routing groups. So we'll be understanding why do we need routing groups and what are the benefits of using them in Nextjs. So let's take a really simple example on when do we need these routing groups. Think of it as a team working in a team, and you are focusing on one piece of code. Let's suppose you're focusing mainly on login pages, right? And someone from your team is focusing on the dashboards, right? To separate out some of these part, and you don't want to mix match all these things. The main question comes, how do we handle the layouts, right? And we know the layouts are basically the wrappers which are there in the root folder, right? And if you haven't watched my previous video, you can go check it out, my previous video. Make sure you understand the layouts. I explained you very simply like what are the layouts. So if you read on the document, right, the Nextjs docs, you can easily understand on why do we need it. So they mentioned it like if you are organizing, if you want to organize the routes, and if you have a different site sections, or you have a team, right, and you want to separate out these things, so you can do that very easily. So it enables nested layouts, right? What are these nested layouts? I'll explain you. So how do we name our folders? So we name our folders. They have a convention. They have given the convention in the documentation. So basically, if you are creating some blog, right, and if you want to make it in a group, right, so you can basically wrap it up in a group, right? Or if you are working in a dashboard, so you can create a folder dashboard and basically wrap it up in a round brackets, right? So we got this thing, and now let's try to understand how the folder structure will work, right? Okay, so now let's try to understand the folder structure of these route groups, and how we gonna define them. So you can see we have our app folder, right? And inside this app folder we have a layout.ts, right, or js file. And in the previous video I explained you that our header component, our footer components sits in this layout, right? So basically you can have a main root layout which can have a header component or a, so I'll name this as a header or a footer. So header or footer can sit inside the layout.js file or ts file. And then we have something interesting. We have a folder which has a round bracket inside it, and we name it as a marketing. So you can name your group anything, it doesn't matter, right? The main part is what you gonna name them as a part of a team, right? So if you have a marketing team, so basically you can create a folder marketing, and then you can create subfolders which is inside these marketing, which is about or a blog, right? Similarly, we have a shop component, shop group, which you can assign to a specific team. And inside this, you can see we have a subfolder called accounts. And in these subfolders, we have page.js file, right? Similar to this, we have page.js file. In about, we have a page.js file. So now you can see we have a root layout, right? We can call it as a root layout because it's on the root level of our app folder. And then we have our layout inside marketing, and then layout inside shop. And why do we need it? I'll explain you in the code, right? So this is something interesting, and that's where what we call it as a nested layouts, right? We have layouts, and then inside the marketing we have another layout, right? So I'll explain you what are these layouts and how do they work. So now I'm on the code, right? And let's try to understand what we have built last time. So I'll do a npm run dev. So if you haven't watched the previous series, go check them out. I have explained you how the layouts are working. Okay guys, so this is what we built in our previous video, and you can see we have a header component and we have a footer component, which is basically sitting in our layout, right? So you can see we have a layout, and inside this layout we can see that we are loading the child, and whatever page we are loading, it's basically rendering our page inside this layout, right? So here comes the interesting question on how do we create a login page. Well, you might say we can simply create a login page by just creating a folder, right? We can create a folder named login, and we can create a page.tsx, and then we can do export default, a simple div which can have a login page, right? You might say like this, and this has to be a function. Created a simple login form, and you can see we have a simple login form. And you might say, well, we can do is create a simple login folder, and then we can have a page.tsx, and then we can simply visit this URL and get the login form. What's wrong in this, right? But you can see my requirement comes, I don't want to see our header and a footer component, right? And that's interesting because what the layout did is it puts our header and footer component in a layout, right? And then we can simply use this layout in any of the page, right, which is inside our home directory. But I don't want these header or footer component in a login page. So what I can simply do, you might say, is I can simply remove header and footer component from the layout, right? But the question comes, login page is working fine, but if we go on our home page, you will see our header and footer component got removed from our home page. Now, how do we handle this situation? So we can't create our home directly like slash home or something like that. It has to be under localhost 3000, which are base URL. And if we visit our login page, it has to be a plain login form. Or if we visit dashboard, it has to be a plain dashboard layout, right? So how do we share these layouts? So here comes the interesting part on, we can create multiple layouts if we can create the group. So first step is to create the group. So what we'll do is we'll create a group inside the app, right? So we'll create a group. So we'll create a folder with the round brackets and we will name this as auth, right? And what we'll do is just put the login folder inside the auth, right? And we'll just do a move, right? This is fine. And now what we can do is create another folder and we can name it as dashboard, right? And what we can do is, we don't have a dashboard yet, so we can ignore this. So now what we'll do is create a layout specially for auth, right? So let's do create a layout.tsx, right, inside the auth. Basically, if we want to create maybe a sign up page, so we can do that sign up page. Or if we want to create forgot passwords, we can do a forgot password page as well, right? So this comes handy when you are dealing with a specific group, right? So now you can think this layout will be common for every auth page, right? And now comes the interesting part, that I will do an export. What I'll do is just copy this layout, what we have in a root directory, and we'll just paste whatever we have, and I'll remove this one. And we don't need a header and footer component in our auth, right? And maybe I can remove the metadata for now. So what we'll do is remove everything, and I will just rename it to auth layout. We can basically name it anything. Just to be a naming convention, I can name this like this, and I can remove the body. I don't need a body and an HTML, right? What it will do is just render the children, right? So I will just render the children, and what I'll do is wrap it up in a segment, right? And now you can see we have a login page which doesn't have a header and footer component. And now what we can do is, if you go back to our home directory, you will see we still don't have a header and footer component. So what we'll do is we'll create another group and we'll name it as publics, right, kind of thing, right? Which is public pages, right? So we'll do a public and then just move the page.tsx, which is having our home page, to our public, right? So you can think of it, we have created our three groups. Public pages will sit in the public. So if I'm creating a contact us page, so this will go in this. I think we already have a contact page. So I'll just move the contact us page inside this, and I will move the blogs also inside the public. So now the folder structure makes sense, right? And now what I can do is create another layout inside our public, and what I can do is copy whatever we have in our root layout inside the public layout. And what we'll do is remove the global CSS because we are already importing it. Remove this and then remove HTML because we are already importing the HTML part. So you can remove this, and now we can uncomment our header and footer. So I'll just give a segment over here, and I will just uncomment this header and a footer, right? And I can rename this as a public layout, right? So now it makes sense that our public pages will have a header and footer component, but our auth pages will not have any header footer components because our layout doesn't have any header or footer component. So now you can see our folder structure is very clean, right? We can see our public pages inside this, our dashboard inside this, and our auth pages inside this. And the cool part about this is if you go back and if you see our home page is working fine, which is having our header and a footer component. And if you visit our login page, surprisingly, it doesn't have our header and footer component because we have grouped everything inside our layouts, and our header component and footer component doesn't have anything with that, right? Last thing what we'll do is create a dashboard layout as well. So what I'll do is close this auth and open the dashboard, and I'll create a layout file in this. So we'll say layout.tsx, and what we'll do is I think we have already created a layout in the blog last time, right? So yeah, so sidebar will have this thing, right? So I'll just copy this and I will just paste it over here. So basically we will have a sidebar in our blog, in our dashboard, right? So I just save this. Before saving this, I'll just rename it just to be naming convention. I'll just name it as dashboard, but you can basically name it anything. And now what I'll do is I will create a page.tsx, and now what I will do is just simply paste this component, and I will just name it dashboard, and remove this, name it as dashboard. And now let's go back and let's see if our dashboard is working fine. So I made one mistake that I didn't create any folder inside this, so I have to create a dashboard because these are just the groups, right? So I'll just create a dashboard and I will just move the page.tsx inside the dashboard, right? So now if we go visit our dashboard, you will see, let it be compiled. So now you will see we don't see any of our header or our footer, right? We just see our sidebar, which is perfect, right? And if you go back to our home directory, we can see our header footer component, and if you visit our login, we see our login, right? So this is how you're gonna make your groups, and you're gonna assign it to different teams, or you can assign it to different layouts. So you get the point, right? So go play around with this layouts, and in the next video we'll cover more on some of the server side components, or I will take some of more advanced routing mechanism in Nextjs. So stay tuned. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the like, and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon also, so you never miss our new updates. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.